Hello everyone, so in the last episode obviously what we did is got all of the rebates cut out the back and we got all of the corners dominoed together, so we have some sort of frame for our poke in the ashes. But we have a few minor issues with the design in that we have this internal edge that's a little bit fragile, and as a result little bits of wood have started breaking off it and it's given it an inconsistent edge and it doesn't quite meet up on some of the corners. So this is a design issue. I should be able to machine this out hopefully, and as these are prototypes I'm not too fussed about it, but I'm going to try clean up the inside edges anyway, see what I can do to make them look pretty, and yeah, I know what not to do when it actually comes to making the proper Oakey Pokeys. So what I reckon I'm going to do is get them upright in the vise like this, and I'm literally just going to have to plane off that sharp edge on the top of all of these components, which is going to take quite a long time. So when it comes to making the actual Oakey Pokeys, what I'm probably going to do is use the same jig that I used to put this flat on the back and to use it to take off this arris as well. Because if I'm trying to make a profit on these things and I'm going to sell them afterwards, if I'm faffing around taking off this arris like I'm doing on this one now, that's going to make them quite costly by the time I account in the hourly fee and all that. The other thing I need to do here is make sure I'm not taking off too much with the block plane, because otherwise it's going to make it even more difficult for these mitres to meet up afterwards. It's going to take it down so it's about 1 millimetre big with the arris on there, and then I'll just fine tune the corners afterwards to make them fit. So I'll see you on the other side. Right, so I've arrised all of those fragile inside corners, so those are looking nice now. Didn't actually take as long as I thought it would either, so happy days there. Now what I've got to do is sand it all, again just to take off any little splinters that are on there. These main sides have already gone through the drum sander, so it's all nice and smooth on these outside faces. It's just like these internal ones, and again that inside chamfer could do with a little bit of sanding as well, even though I've just planed it. So yeah, I'll probably just buzz over it with 180 grit, I think. Just realised that actually no, I don't need to sand all the faces. I've just got to do this inside edge that I planed and the inside edge of the 45-degree component. So when the mitre comes out here, just that little bit there, because that's going to be difficult to gain access to once it's all assembled, because it's going to an internal corner. So I've just got one little arris to sand down and one inside face. Thank God, because I hate sanding. So now I'm just arrising around the back where the hardboard's going to be nested in the back of the pinboard, because I don't want there to be any sort of like splintered edges or anything on there. So taking that edge off, it seems a bit pointless because it's going to be on the back of the board, but oh well. Yeah, there we go, this is a bit nicer. So this is the edge I was just cleaning up. So if I put the hardboard up in that rebate, it's just no, why did I do this design? This was just pure silliness, this. There we go. So the top of that rebate, it kind of had some splintered edges and it wasn't too nice. It's the back of the board, no one's really gonna feel it, but it's just good to know that it is, oh my, just for security, a nice little rounded edge. So as some of you may know, I use Titebond no run no drip when gluing end grain together and mitres, because it's kind of got more of a paint like consistency to it, whereas a normal glue is sort of a lot more watery, and as a result end grain, because it's like lots of straws, it just ends up drinking up the glue and you get a dry joint at the end of it. So Titebond no run no drip, because of the paint like consistency, it kind of just sits on the end grain. I haven't had any issues with it resisting components being pressed together, because I've heard that can be an issue if you put too much glue on. It stops two components from mating together properly, but I've had no issues with that. You just need to be able to get enough clamping force behind it. So I'm probably going to use this to glue the end grain in there, but obviously I've got this domino joint as well, and I've got the issue of clamping the mitre. Now obviously the profile of this makes it a little bit difficult to clamp it together. because of that 90-degree edge, it's, you know, I'm gonna have to make some sort of like V-shaped block and then angle it so it's perpendicular to the mitre, and that's gonna allow me to squeeze it together. I could probably knock together a few blocks of them if I wanted to, but what I want to try out here is a glue called Mitre Bond. Now, Mitre Bond had such a bad rep for us at Rycotewood because every time you, I don't know, you broke out a bit of end grain or something like that, you'd like Mitre Bond it on, and you'd like laugh at your mate for using Mitre Bond. And if you were like bodging together a jig or something like that, you'd just end up Mitre Bonding it together. Basically what it is a super glue with an activator spray. So you apply the glue to one bit, spray on the other, stick them together, and it is bonded like that. But it got such a bad rep for all of us students, all of the tutors at Rycotewood, that I kind of forgot that the name Mitre Bond might actually mean that it's quite good for mitres. So what I might try is kind of like a mixture of Mitre Bond and standard glue. So I don't know, maybe this glue into the domino joint and then Mitre Bond on the end grain or something like that, because then I don't have to clamp it. I can just put this into the domino, Mitre Bond one of them, activate a spray on the other, stick them together, hold it there for a few seconds, and that's going to be bonded. Mitre Bond is obviously quite brittle because it's a super glue, but within half hour, this glue is going to harden up inside the domino joint and it's going to have the strength of the glue and domino together. So yeah, I'm probably going to try that. If it doesn't work, I mean, I'll do it on the worst frame to start with, so I'm not ruining one of these good ones, because this one I managed to drop on the concrete floor. I've dented the mitre on it and like, yeah, it's a little bit beaten up. So this will be the tester. I'm going to try and glue it all together with Mitre Bond and glue, see how it works. If it doesn't, then I'll just have to go back to the old angle block technique and try and make one of those, glue it on the side, and then allow me to press the mitre together perpendicular. The only issue is I don't have any Mitre Bond here, which means I am going to have to go back to Rycotewood. Again, this project has taken so long because I don't have anything here. Right, let's see how this works. Of course, I forgot the Type Bond No Run No Drip, so we're going to be using the college's glue, which I think is Type Bond 2, which has got quite a lot of grab on it anyway, so it should be pretty good. So let's see what this is like. Bit of glue in the domino joint and a bit of glue in the opposing one as well. And then let's put some Mitre Bond all over the end grain on here. Okay, and then on this component, you get the spray. Spray it on there, get it nice and wet, and then simply stick the two together. And hopefully, if I press these with just my hands, oh, no, it hasn't dried. Put a bit more on there. That's not too bad actually, it's closed up pretty well. I think with a little bit of sanding, get all of that glue flush, that should be all right. Let's do the rest of it, see what happens. So I'll do the opposite corner first, put a little bit more of a sensible amount of glue on there. Literally everything about me is screaming this is wrong, and it's just because Mitre Bond has got such a bad rep from my fellow classmates and tutors and things, but I think this is, oh, hello, wrong one. I think this is going to be pretty good. Uh-oh, there we go. Ooh, squeeze out galore. Sweet. Tell you what, this is actually working pretty well, I think. I feel like that one's just broken. Yes, it has. The only one that seems to be slipping is this one here. Doesn't seem to be wanting to bite. Well, it's worked pretty well for most of them. I'll have to sand it and see what happens, but this one here is a little bit ropey. I reckon what I'm gonna have to do is take this back, sand it up, see what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. I think I will, I definitely have Mitre Bond stuck to my finger. Ow. Yeah, I reckon I'll sand it up, see what it looks like, and then we'll just go from there. I think I will have to be going for the block technique where I glue them on the edges, and then that's going to allow me to press the mitres together perpendicular. We'll have to see though, we'll have to see. So, back to the workshop. Right, so I've got one cleaned up, and it looks okay. It looks all right, but it's not good enough. There's like a few gaps here and there, and I just wouldn't be happy with selling it. Oh, I've managed to stain that corner or something. But as you can see, what I've done is taped some of the pin, let's say, some of the pin material, the cork material in place, so I can kind of get an idea of what the pin board looks like, and I'm really happy with it. I think it looks great. It's just these mitres, they're not quite clamping up correctly. I have no doubt that they are accurate because I've checked that and everything. It is simply the clamping method that needs to be improved. So what I have done is I had some old scaffold boards left over from these shelves here, and I've made these into sort of long L-shaped clamping blocks like this. So then what I can do is with these, this L shape will hook over the outside corner of the pin board, and then I can cut a 45 degrees on that is then perpendicular to the mitre at the corner. Then I can glue those in place with just a standard PVA type bond or something like that, clamp up the mitres, and those blocks will stay solidly in place. And then, because this is a softer material than ash, I should just be able to whack these off with a hammer. If not, I now have a bandsaw, which I can cut them off with that and then just simply plane it back. Shouldn't be too much cleanup. So that's what we're going to go for today. Let's go. Okay, so I managed to cut the first ones the wrong way, so the mitre was essentially clamping itself apart rather than together. So those went in the bin, but these ones that I've got the correct way round, they're all very good. They're a little bit bigger than what I expected because I wanted to make these blocks bigger than I needed because then I've got a larger surface to clamp on. However, this is a little bit excessive. I forgot that when you cut something at 45 degrees, you effectively increase the surface area. So I know that my clamping block next time can be a little bit less cumbersome. The other issue I'm facing at the moment is cutting this is a little bit ropey on this mitre saw, not because of the mitre saw itself, mainly because when I put this on the back fence, if I'm cutting them at 45 degrees like this, that back corner of the clamping block is like just a little bit higher than this fence, and I'm worried that if I carry on like this, one of them's just going to snag and it's going to go over that fence, twist in here. And bear in mind, by this point, because I'm cutting something so deep, the blade is at maximum exposure really, so I have nothing protecting my hands in this area. So if that block does go, my thumb, you know, it might go in here. So what I'm going to do is resort to the same method that I used to clamp the compound mitre themselves, and take this up to 30 degrees and take this round to 35.3. So then when I put this on here and orientate it in the correct way so that I don't cut these the wrong way again, that should give me exactly, no wait, that's the wrong one. That should give me exactly the same as this, just with more support behind. Ideally my hand will be this side as well, so it's not underneath the blade. Yeah, a few things to work out, but we are getting somewhere, which is good. Right, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the wrong way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good, and they are all going the correct way, so they should be sloping back towards that top edge. Yep. Yes. Cool. Right. See if I can do this without destroying them all. Ha 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 ha. Right, so that will be glued on like this, and then that gives me a clamping face that is parallel to the mitre joint, which is good. So yeah, to clamp these in place, I obviously can't do an actual cramp. Oh, could I do a cramp on that actually? Could I do it across there? That could work. I had it in mind that I might need to just tape them on round like that, but it's not going to give as much clamping force. But I do have a flat spot, where is it? There and there. Oh, that's going to work. Yeah, that'll be perfect. Right, let's glue them in place. So obviously I only have 11 blocks at this point, and I'm going to need 8 blocks per frame. So I can only actually glue up one of the frames. So let's make this prototype number 2 after prototype number 1 was mitre bonded together and looks a bit crap. So let's get these blocks on. So it's going to need to go that way, which means clamping, yep. I'm going to make a right old mess of this, I can already see it. So let's be hearty with the glue, because I can get it off afterwards. And make sure I glue these on the right way. Yeah, about there should suffice. I can fiddle around with getting this little... Oh, that's going to work. Yes. Oh, I do hope this works. Right. Made a right old mess of this, but let's leave those to dry and see where we're at with it. Right, so the blocks have attached to the side of the components, so we're ready to do a test dry, well actually I've already done a dry fit, I'm not going to lie. We're ready to glue them together is what I was meant to say. So I'm going to use Cascamite for this because I love it, it fills gaps. A lot of you can't hear me when I say Cascamite, you don't know what I'm saying, so it's C-A-S-C-A-M-I-T-E, Cascamite. So it is listed on a social media platform that I'm listed on called kit.com. Have a look at that, I'll put a link in the description below. There you can see all of the tools that I use as well as consumables and stuff like this. And pretty much all of them have links to relevant stores where you can actually buy the products from as well. So let's get some Cascamite mixed up. So put it into my smaller tub, bit of water. So the advantage of using Cascamite is that it's going to fill any little gaps here and there. These mitres, because I've had them knocking around for so long now, because this project has taken so much longer than expected, they've started getting little dings here and there, so having any sort of gap filler in there will be beneficial. And this has a long open time as well, so I haven't got to stress about glue going off or anything like that. Cascamite, just good all round. Great thing about this as well is it is the same colour as ash when it dries, so you'll never see any of the small caps that are in here, hopefully. I really should have just not been lazy and done this before, because this is easily the most intuitive method of clamping up these mitres. But then again, I suppose I did get to experiment with mitre bond as well, so I guess all is not bad. It's always good to mess around here and there. The nice thing about these blocks is that it allows the mitres to lay on their backs as well, without rolling all over the place, and easily gives me access to these domino holes. Not sure that sentence actually came out right then. So, clamped up, that feels a lot more secure. So, I guess we're going to leave that overnight and we'll see how it turns out in the morning. I'm going to call it there for that episode, so thank you very much for watching and I will see you in the next episode. What a terrible ending that was.